I want you all to do a little mind exercise with me. So I want you to pretend this piece of paper is you. As you on it, you're talking to yourself. And when you judge yourself, you're typically thinking negative and critical thoughts about yourself. It just happens. You may not think it makes a big impact, but I'm about to show you how much of an impact it truly makes. So when you start judging yourself, you say, oh, I'm not pretty. Or maybe, I'm not smart. Or I'm not worth it. How does it make you feel to see yourself in pieces like that? Angry? Depressed maybe? I guarantee this has happened to almost every one of you sitting in this room. This was a demonstration to show how mental blocks truly feel and how they affect your mindset. In order to overcome mental blocks, you have to understand how and why they happen, because they can happen to anyone, at any time, anywhere. So luckily, I will be talking y'all through solutions for these setbacks. I will be talking about the athlete's mindset, discussing comparison in athletes, the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset, the importance of exercising the mind, and how to overcome injuries. Let's begin with comparison in athletes. Most people's first impression when they hear the word comparison is generally negative. They see others succeed and wonder, why haven't I succeeded? Believe me when I say I have been there. In fact, I guarantee almost every athlete to ever exist has been in this exact situation. This is where the mental blocks start. There is, however, a very simple solution to avoid this, and that is to use comparison to your advantage. Instead of being jealous of someone else's successes, look at how they have made accomplishments, not the why. Obviously, there is a reason for them being successful, and if you compare your performance with theirs, you can study their techniques and apply it into your own performance so that you can also be successful. Another solution is to acknowledge others' successes. Be happy for them, not sad that you didn't get their success. This is a trait you must be able to have if you want to play at the elite and higher levels. Erika is a performance coach specifically for young female athletes, but her advice can apply to everyone. She encourages, you can celebrate them too, which would make you feel far less depressed. You can celebrate someone else's achievements and still feel good about your own. Yes, sports are all about competition, but it is not a competition among your own team. Yes, you want to be the best athlete you can be, but you don't have to bring yourself down in the process. This is most common during team sports. Everyone is constantly trying to outplay each other, thinking me, me, me. But in reality, you have to work together or else the team won't function like it's supposed to. Even if you're a one-player team, if you constantly try to outplay yourself and don't let your skills or performance take time to grow, you will get frustrated and you'll get stuck inside your own head, not allowing yourself to progress. Your mind is going to compare whether you like it or not. It just does. You cannot control it. But what you can control is how you react from it. Change your perspective. Here you go. I remember freshman year, I was so scared and very timid on my team, afraid that I was going to make my teammates mad at me because I was the new girl and I didn't want to mess up. But that was all I played for. I played to not mess up. And then it was as if I wasn't even playing the game anymore. Comparing myself negatively made me timid, affecting my performance in a negative way. Because your body follows what your mind will tell it, if your mind says to play to not mess up, you'll play to not mess up instead of play to win. Thankfully, junior year, I had a healthy change of perspective. My view changed from I can't mess up to how can I execute my job better so that my teammates can score easier. That was the attitude shift I needed to have a successful season. That is a team perspective and a healthy attitude, which is a very important skill to master in order to become a part of the elite. Coaches can't coach attitude or effort. That is the job of the athlete. An athlete has to be able to compare themselves healthily and watch others succeed to use it as motivation to keep progressing to the top. Overall, yes, comparison can be very negative and where mental blocks start, but it can also be the solution to make them stop. Moving on to my next point, the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset. CrossFit coach Jason Layden, founder of Conquer Athlete, refers to an article written by Amanda Ferranti which gives her perspective of the fixed mindset. She says, on one hand, there are athletes who believe that their basic qualities are fixed as if genetically predetermined. With a fixed mindset, athletes think, I was born talented, therefore I will always have talent. This goes for non-athletes as well. Some people think they were just born smarter than others, therefore they will always have that trait. But what will happen if they eventually see someone who is smarter or more athletic than them? It will lead them to a mental block that they won't know what to do about, and it will literally crush them. I have always thought that professional athletes such as Jordan Larson or Steph Curry were just born naturally talented. However, this is not the case. All we see are their successes and achievements, and we don't see their behind the scenes. We don't see all the work they put in. Truth is, they work just as hard as everyone else, and probably even harder to get to the level that they're playing at. They learned how to separate their fixed mindsets from a growth mindset. Their work ethic is what separated them from other athletes, which is what makes them stand out to be chosen by coaches. It is called the growth mindset because you are constantly growing to be the best that you can be, and not just relying on natural talent. Having a growth mindset will improve your work ethic and spark your motivation to strive for higher goals and become part of the elite. It will help you overcome mental blocks much faster than any other mindset, and it'll help you see the good and the bad situations, stay positive, maintain motivation after setbacks, and it'll also help you realize all the necessary needs for an athlete that may not seem important but are essential to keep a healthy mind and balance, such as good nutrition, a significant amount of sleep, hydration, and all the basic needs the body needs to properly function. In other words, a growth mindset will help your brain recognize that your body needs recovery time, which in the long run will nourish your brain and give it a reset so that the chances of mental blocks are significantly lower. A lot of athletes don't take the proper recovery time needed because they think they will be seen as weak or lazy. According to Fabio Comana, athletes have to be able to maintain homeostasis during training periods in order to properly recover and grow muscle proteins. Because when you properly recover, your mind gets relieved of stress. Stress prevents homeostasis and is one of the main causes of mental blocks. When your body is happy, your brain is happy and healthy to keep a strong mind and not let mental blocks get in the way. The growth mindset is not letting setbacks control you. Now, some may disagree that there can be too much recovery time and less work time. So when is the breaking point? Well, some believe that pushing yourself past the breaking point is how to become elite. The fact is, you are the only one who can tell when pushing yourself is too much. Whether or not you listen to your body will determine the result. Every physical trainer, professional athlete, or even just a regular desk job will tell their students or teammates to take rest days. You may be thinking, well, I've always been fine pushing myself past my limits. Well, that was probably Lindsey Vohn's mindset when she was chosen to compete in the Winter Olympics this year. Unfortunately, Lindsey Vonn tore her ACL 1 week before the Olympic Games, but she proceeded to ski on it because, it's the Olympics. Come on now. Would you consider putting your whole skiing career at risk as a breaking point? Vonn probably realized that she did in fact push herself too far because after a nasty crash on the slopes, she broke her left leg pretty badly. So yes, there is a point when you can push yourself too hard and you need to listen to your body telling you to rest, because now Lindsey Vonn has to go through one of the hardest mental blocks to overcome as an injury. Recovery is an absolute necessity, and it doesn't make you weak, it makes you disciplined. Which leads me into my third solution to overcome mental blocks, and that is to exercise and train the mind, like you train your muscles. Rachel Vanderkruik, a clinical psychologist, says, mental health is like a muscle. Just like we physically train and condition our muscles, it's also important to practice and develop these mental skills. The more you practice them, the stronger and more effective they become. These skills being talked about are mindfulness, visualization, and self-talk. Mindfulness is being aware of your progress and goals. Where are you now, and what is your goal for the future? Thinking back to a game or match can be useful because then you can look at what you did wrong and what you did well so that you can implement it into your next performance. Or maybe mindfulness to you is just being present in the moment, acknowledging your body condition and what you can do to keep it healthy. It differs for everyone. The second is visualization. Because, believe it or not, this works wonders. When I started taking time before game days to visualize how I wanted to play, my performance went up. When you visualize yourself playing your best, it'll tell your body to play like you think. Visualizing good performance in anything, not only sports, will train your brain, think peak performance, so you will play at peak performance. Third skill is self-talk. Just like we celebrate others, we need to be able to celebrate ourselves as well. Self-talk, or talk yourself through mental blocks, staying calm and focused on the bigger picture, instead of just thinking, I'll get it next time. Say it out loud and it'll make a much bigger impact on your mind. If you practice these 3 skills, it'll reduce stress before and during games, so it'll reduce the probability of developing mental blocks. Ben Foodman, a psychotherapist and sport performance specialist, describes how to perform a technique called vergence, which is very commonly used in the higher playing levels. He says athletes need to direct their eyes to a visual point in front of them, example, like a tip of a water bottle, for approximately 3 to 5 seconds. That will complete one cycle, and he says to repeat for several minutes until they feel the desired effect in relaxation and focus. Foodman references M. Bowen, who reassures athletes that one reason vergence is so effective is because when the oculocardiac reflex is stimulated during this process, the vagus nerve triggers in a relaxation response which can slow the heart rate up to 20%. This will reduce stress again, giving a less chances of mental blocks. This technique can be useful for any situation such as before a test or a speech, or quite literally any time you need to lock in. An extra that will also help your performance and reduce chances of mental blocks is to create a pregame routine. Create a routine that consists of fueling your body, hydrating, stretching, and you can even include visualization and self-talk. It is highly recommended to avoid screen time before a game so your mind isn't flooded with too many thoughts. Listening to music can be great for hyping yourself up, just avoid staying on the screen. The more you practice a pregame routine, the more consistent it will be, and the more prepared you will be to focus in games. The last point I want to talk about is one of the hardest mental blocks to get over, and that is overcoming injury. Recently, I suffered an injury that put my athletic career to a halt. I was at basketball practice, favoring my right knee a little because it was hurting that day, and I ran into someone. As soon as impact hit, I felt my knee pop, and I knew that I was going to have a setback. Little did I know that it was going to be a 6 to 9 month setback because I had torn my ACL. Unfortunately, I had a fixed mindset, and when I was told that I would have to get surgery, it crushed me. And note, I am generally not a very patient person, and I had to wait a month to get surgery, which set me back even further. So let's talk about some solutions to overcome this big rough patch. Everything that we've talked about, changing perspective, mindfulness, exercising the mind, will all be your main keys to staying consistent during the recovery process. I have learned to have trust in my physical therapist, surgeons, parents, and especially God to know everything will work out, and that requires patience. Lots and lots of patience. Having patience will require a lot of change, but that will be easier if you practice a growth mindset. You will have to change your work ethic to fit your situation. For me, I focus on good nutrition, still exercising my upper body, excelling in academics, and in general just taking better care of my body. Physical therapy will more than likely be required and will get very repetitive, but that's when exercising and disciplining your mind is so important. It is suggested that during recovery, you pick up a new hobby or focus on what you're good at in order to keep your mind occupied and productive for the time you're out. Because it can be extremely hard from going from athletics being your only focus and only thing you think about to having to find something else and start at the very beginning. It can be very frustrating and discouraging, but picking something else to have motivation to do will be an essential for recovery. Chief Medical Editor Howard E. Lewine says, "Don't strive for vast improvement, strive for reps and consistency. Pick challenging objectives that have complexity and require practice so that your mind is stronger to get past the next mental block. Consistency is key." Going back to the importance of recovery, if you don't give yourself enough time to recover, then you won't properly build the gains you need to return to your sport. For example, prioritize sleep. Susan Cunningham says in an article from UC Health to activate the neuromuscular system by stretching. Stretching is often a much-needed action athletes tend to skip, but in reality, it's one of the most essential things to avoid injury. It relaxes your body, and when your body's relaxed, your mind tends to follow. Cunningham continues, focus on fueling, build rest days into training, keeping your body properly rested and fueled in order to keep your mind healthy and strong. Keeping a strong mindset will be the most important factor into going into active recovery from an injury. Sports and life in general are very mental, and in order to perform at the elite level in anything, you must have a good mindset. All the solutions talked about can help anyone succeed at anything and help overcome mental blocks as they come. Mental blocks don't control you because now you have solutions to overcome them. If you take anything out of this speech, just remember, practice makes perfect, and you control your effort and your performance. Put in the work, make every rep count, and take care of your mind just as much as you take care of your body. Thank you.